Good morning, everyone. We'll call this meeting of the Community Growth and Economic Development Committee for Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026 to order. Can we have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk? Councillor Shaid is here and Mayor Collier's online. Okay? Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? Chair?
Thank you, Chair Chapman. I will be leaving at 10 after 10 to represent the region at Ontario Tech, and I just wanted you to know, and after that in Port Perry, but I'll have to leave at 10 after 10.
Okay, thank you. Seeing and hearing no declarations, can I have a motion to adopt the minutes of February the 3rd? Councillor Kerr, seconded by Councillor Shaid. Any comments? Mayor Collier?
Sorry, not comment, Chair. I just realized I stepped away for a second, missed the vote. Please mark me present in the agenda.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
did. I saw you. I saw that. That's no problem. Thank you. Okay. All in favor of the minutes? Opposed? That is carried. There are no statutory public meetings this morning. We have a presentation by Pam Lancaster, Conservation Lands Coordinator, Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority, and Roy Mosier, Restoration Coordinator, Central Lake Ontario Conservation Authority, update on Durham Trees Program, celebrating 5 years of success. Morning, Roy.
Good morning, everybody. Oh, sorry, turn that back on. I'll control the slide deck, Roger, if you don't mind. I'm not that familiar with Pam's.
Slides are up there. You're ready to go.
So yes, just here to talk about our very successful Durham Trees program up to date. This program started in 2021, and we've been, it's a collaboration of all 5 CAs within Durham Region, and in collaboration with Durham Region itself, of course, and all 5 CAs that operate within Durham's jurisdiction. In 2021, we began the Durham Trees program to respond to the various municipal climate emergencies and to meet our own watershed goals of increasing forest cover within our watersheds. So here's a breakdown of the different CAs within Durham. So you can see all 5 are represented here. We have Lake Simcoe Region Conservation, Kawartha Conservation. We have Toronto Region Conservation to the west, Central Lake Ontario Conservation right in the middle, and Ganaraska to the east. This program is locally developed, so each CA operates their tree planting programs independently. We all have sort of similar models that we use, but they all are sort of similar to each other, and it basically consists of planting small tree seedlings on private lands throughout the watershed for landowners interested in reforesting their property. It often consists of planting marginal farmlands or lands that have been left to naturally regenerate and are sort of growing in naturally, often with early pioneer species or even, unfortunately, invasive species at times. The program model that we've been using is referred to as afforestation, and it consists of planting sun-loving, mostly coniferous species planted in rows for ease of management later on. But these are sun-loving species that are resistant to drought and environmental conditions, and the idea is that they will establish sort of a cover crop for what would be hardwood forest species coming in under the canopy as the forest naturally succeeds. I can let Pam jump in if it's...
Okay. Thank you, everyone. My apologies. I had some truck difficulties, and I'm also getting over a sinus infection, so hopefully you can bear with me. Thank you, Roy, for filling in. Um, so, Roy's been telling you all the exciting news about Durham Trees. It is definitely about collaboration, like this morning, where we work together to see a program to its success. It was built on the Community Climate Adaptation Plan, and using that success, the conservation authorities and the region worked together with area municipalities to bring forward Durham Trees. Oops. Durham Trees is all about engagement with the communities, with our residents, to make sure that people are aware that tree planting is a possibility, especially this type of social climate where it's harder to get messaging out, it's harder to grab people's attention. We have to really make sure we're out there with the messaging saying trees are important, we're here to help you get them in the ground. So we have a great website. I would encourage you to visit durhamtrees.org that is meant to help people navigate the where to go and get support through their conservation authorities. We have a fairly extensive social media campaign. And when print media was in existence, we would use it. We still use it today, along with digital ads. And we go door to door, mailbox to mailbox. We always say it takes about 10 touches to grab somebody's attention, and then hopefully have them have trees in the result, which is the end result, getting trees in the ground. Durham Trees is based in results of numbers of trees planted, but also all the other types of extension services we can offer. So by the numbers, over the 4 planting seasons, so from 2022 to 25, Durham Trees has seen over 490,000 trees put into the ground. That's equivalent to 288 hectares planted, or 700 acres. And something a little more visual, that's about 3 kilometer by 3 kilometer squared. We achieved over 76% of our targets from what we had projected when we first pitched the program, which we're really happy about, especially in a time of media change as well as planting through the pandemic. But of course, Durham Trees is more than the tree. We strive to build that relationship with the landowner on behalf of the conservation authorities and the municipalities, so that they understand the role of CAs and how we can support them on their property with anything beyond the tree as well. Of course, it is all about collaboration at the agency level, bringing forward all of our collective professional knowledge and skills and programming together to deliver consistency across the region, and doing that in partnership with the region itself, as well as area municipalities and all the other organizations that are on the landscape wanting to do good things through tree planting. We are science-based. Durham Trees was founded in watershed plans, restoration tools, natural heritage strategies. So when we look at where we want to put the tree, of course we'll plant them kind of where people want them, but we really want to make sure we're targeting the right watersheds, connecting those fragmented landscapes, meeting the targets of the region and the province and beyond. There's a big focus of carbon. If you've had a chance to read the report, you'll see that we have a whole section on how we adapt tree planting to a changing climate. It is something we have to think of year after year to make sure that our trees thrive and survive as they grow big. And to that end, we have some estimations on carbon sequestration at year 10 and 30 of the tree's life. And finally, Durham Trees is all about building efficiencies, coordinating efforts so that we can grow bigger and stronger together. And to that point, I would pass it back over to Roy, who's going to speak about the next iteration of Durham Trees and the future of where we're going.
Thank you very much, Pam. So yeah, after phase 1 was completed in 2024, we revisited our goals and objectives to see if we could find gaps in what we were offering and see if we could expand our services to include more of a wide range of services for landowners. We, when we were out on the landscape, encountered many landowners that were interested in planting trees but didn't quite meet the minimum criteria of our existing afforestation model of planting, which is a 500 tree minimum, which adds up to about 2/3 of an acre. So we had many landowners interested in planting trees, but just didn't meet the minimum criteria. So we were looking for opportunities to reach out to try to source some funding that could cover that gap, those landowners that didn't quite meet the minimum. We identified gaps as partners. We realized we did have landowners that didn't meet those minimum requirements. We had even private corporate grounds where there's large areas of mowed lawn that could potentially be opportunities for planting. We also had many landowners that didn't like that afforestation sort of model of planting where it's low species diversity. Sort of, you might have a handful of species, but less diversity, and they're generally planted in rows with the idea being future management because it makes it easier to manage the rows, and you would selectively thin that down the road. But lots of landowners would rather have more diversity of stock, sometimes even potted stock, planted further apart, larger stock. So instead of the small seedlings, we could offer 5 to 7 foot potted stock, which many landowners prefer. So in order to achieve that, we needed to seek out new funding. So in phase one, Pam was able to secure $80,000 from the World Wildlife Fund to match Durham Region's contribution and to leverage against the other funding partners that we had, such as Forest Canada, in order to meet our tree planting objectives. That funding ran out, so we were seeking new funding, and the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Greening the Greening Canada's Community Canopies program, yes, came out, and we jumped on that opportunity and decided to go down the road of trying to get successful funding for that. We were successful, and we are able now to provide these new services to landowners that would rather fewer trees, potted stock, smaller plantings with more diversity. And the objective is to plant an additional 22,500 trees throughout Durham Region with our 5 CA partners through that program between now and 2028. This program can be offered to rural farm and non-farm landowners, as well as those corporate, greening corporate grounds type of program. Minimums are only an acre, minimum of 100 trees, not 500. It just opens up more tree planting opportunities in general. And our services will include a free site visit, the development of their planting plan, the installation of the trees, and any tending services that might be needed to tend to those trees as they grow. And that's really it for me for today. There's our partners, and we have FCM as a partner as well. Yeah.
Great, thank you. We do have some questions. Councillor Shahid?
Good morning. How are you? How is everyone? That's awesome. All right. Thank you, Chair, for the indulgence. Roy and Pam, really appreciate you being here. And I know we've asked several questions within our advisory committee as well. Trees make me excited whenever there are plantings and I try to go there. People are excited and they're having fun planting trees. And I've done it and I'm coming to the question, Chair, with CLOCA, with my Rotary group, with LEAF program, and so many other organizations who team up to be tree planters and facilitating that. You talked about a couple of things. Source of funding is one. What sources of funding you have right now, and what are you seeking in terms of the amount?
Well, we will accept support from anybody who wants to contribute, of course. But we do have the FCM. We have ongoing support from Durham Region. We leverage other programs such as Forest Canada that provide subsidies for landowners for tree planting. There's Trees for Life, There's several other partners, as Conservation Ontario, that also offers funding for that. So we sort of tap into those as needed in order to get the actual implementation done in the ground. So, and every CA has sort of their different sources of funding for that.
So the flow is continuous in terms of funding.
Yes, we have a stable source of funding for the seedling program, at least for the afforestation. Forest Canada, for example, has funding through the government to 2031, I believe. So we're secure
great.
in that program for now. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then you talked about minimum requirements of landowners, and sometimes they don't meet the threshold. What are the maybe top 3 minimum requirements anybody should have?
Yeah, so the minimum requirements for the afforestation style program through those funders that we discussed is 500 trees minimum,
Okay.
and spaced at 7 to 8 feet apart. That amounts to 750 trees per acre. So they would need to plant 2/3 of an acre minimum in order to be eligible for that funding and services. That's why phase 2 with the new ability to offer new services is great, because we can offer trees to landowners that don't meet those minimum criteria.
So you provide the trees and soil if needed, and any other, do you provide resources like people to plant as well?
Yeah, so different CAs have different resources internally. So some of us have internal staff that could plant the trees. Some of us contract it out to contractors that do the tree planting. It depends on the CA
I
and
see.
sort of the resources
Right.
that we each have. Yeah.
Well, I love the presentation in terms of the fact that this is amazing work, much needed for the environment. So I'd be always supporting it. Thank you so much for coming out today.
Do we, just based on that question on planting, do we still get groups to come out? Like, we used to get scouts and guides and things like that come out and plant on, whether it's on private property or on public property? We still do that?
Yes, you, Mr. Chair. We still will engage all the different community groups, school groups. We try to match them up with the best fit for distance traveled,
Right.
number of trees. But when those opportunities arise, we definitely like to match them up.
Yeah, those are always great to see the young people out there planting the trees, yes. Okay, Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Chair, and through you, good morning, folks. Great project. So a few questions. You mentioned about the types of people who may request this. What I didn't see was the locations where you have planted. Do you have a mapping at all of where you have planted and where we could or should plant, so we can maybe try and encourage people to be aware of this program so we can get trees there? So where have you planted so far? It's a lot of trees. I imagine it's not a 700-acre parcel. That's the sum total all over. Is that a difficult thing to come up with, or is there a map where you can sort of pinpoint literally where you have planted trees in the past?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Each conservation authority does house their own data repository for that information. And so then we do use that to further engage. So for example, with Ganaraska Conservation Authority, over the years, we've used our National Heritage System to use as an outreach tool. So we'll say, you live in an area that could use more connectivity. And so we like to look at it as more like a neighborhood or community-wide effort. And then, and usually too, when we're planting trees, the neighbors come out and see what's going on. And so it gives us the opportunity to speak to them or have that landowner talk to their neighbors, and usually we drum up more business over the fence kind of thing. So we do use all of our maps and our data and our past projects to further outreach, but we also are not opposed to planting trees wherever they can be. But we do try and use our target areas as our main focus.
So would one of those target areas be areas susceptible or demonstrating erosion issues that the trees might help to retain the soil?
Yeah, we use lots of different watershed pieces of information. So areas of vulnerability, our recent storms too, we will approach or publicize opportunities that if you've just lost a bunch of trees through ash or ice storms or windstorms, that these opportunities exist. We also, for example, with Clarington and Central Lake Ontario, we partner with Trees for Rural Roads, which focuses on getting trees along those rural roads that are dying due to age, to bring back not only the cultural aspect of that, but the environmental need of getting trees along rural roads.
Cover for wildlife too, I would think, right?
Yes.
Next, one of the residents asked a question as to the great volume of trees that have been planted, but there's only, phase two is only 22,000. Is that a funding limitation and you can only plant as many as you're funded? I mean, that seems reasonable, but is that why the numbers are down?
You want to speak to that?
Sure, that's a great question. It's a little bit not straightforward. So the afforestation program we've been running is small seedlings. So they're, relatively cheap to buy from the nursery. They're about $1 to $3 depending on the species. And then the cost of installation is low because they're small. And the crews can plant them with a small shovel. It's more efficient that way. What we're proposing, and there's cost efficiencies in planting large numbers. So what we're proposing is smaller numbers, which actually it's not as cost efficient for a contractor, let's say, to come out and plant 100 trees. They still have to mobilize. They still have to pay their staff. They still have to plant the trees and get back and pick up the trees at the nursery and all of those logistical things. So it's a little bit more expensive for those to go in the ground. The potted stock is more expensive to buy. So potted stock sometimes can be, for a 2-gallon pot, upwards of $50 per unit. And they obviously are larger, so they cost more to install. So in general, those are almost 10 times the cost to install than the small seedlings.
So it's more limitation on funding than desire.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
Thanks. Yeah.
and the smaller numbers translate to, more per unit costs.
Right, you can always use more trees.
But
So my last
the
question.
smaller numbers will also get us in more places in a lot of, right? Rather than a big plot of land with 500 that is cheaper to do. If we do more plots at 100, then we're going to be in more spots, right?
Yes, for sure. It lets us fill those gaps.
about
of
that.
No, that's okay,
riparian-
but you did have a 500 minimum, so maybe I missed this. So are you then now adjusting it down from a 500 minimum to an ideal location? And you sort of say, well, it's only 100 trees, but it's a better location than just that open field there?
No, so we're going to continue to run our afforestation program, the seedlings, the mass planting model, in addition to the new services that we offer. So we'll
Okay.
still be planting, hopefully upward hundreds of thousands of the small seedlings, in addition to the extension services, where our goal is to plant that 22,500. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. My last
Yeah,
question.
the 22,000 trees
Yeah.
are a separate program from the A-Forest. The A-Forest is still where we had the big numbers of
Ah.
480,000 trees planted, which you're getting 500 in a half an acre or whatever it is. But because there's more people interested in having trees planted in different areas, but they don't meet that minimum criteria of the size of their land.
Yeah.
The second program allows for less trees or bigger trees, and this is where the cost comes in, and this is why the number is smaller than the big number that you saw of
Thank you.
400 some
I-
thousand.
The resident and myself both misunderstood
Yeah.
that, so we were hopeful it wasn't a decrease out of need, but rather a decrease out of an additional program as well. Thank you. So my
I
last
think,
question.
Councillor Kerr, you can look at it as 22,000 more trees in addition to
Sure.
the other plan,
That's-
as opposed to less trees.
That's what maybe I chose different words, but that's a
Yeah.
clarification. Thank you. So my last question is, as I drive up to my cottage north of Minden, there are areas where it looks like the Ministry of Forestries or whatever in the past has planted these plots of land, and the trees look like they're from less than me to Councillor Shahid apart. And it's just like this whole area of densely grown. Yours are significantly wider apart. So why are they planted wider apart, and what's the difference in survival rate? Or that's a different question maybe about survival rate, but why do you plant yours further apart?
I can go first and Roy can fill in, which actually is what we do with the trees. So tree planting science, I'll call it, that has evolved. In the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was typical to plant trees 4 to 6 feet apart. And the idea was that we wanted to get those trees growing fast, stabilize the soil, only be there once. So if things died in between, you still have them close by. But it also meant that you had to come back later and manage those trees because they were not meant to grow to be big trees that close together because they won't. So over the decades, it was beginning to see that landowners didn't have all the means to manage their forests. The infrastructure, the companies that could do it weren't on the landscape anymore. So tree planting adjusted to planting at 8 feet generally apart, sometimes 10. It kind of, depends on the species and the project, so that we can still manage in the future, and there isn't so much of a need to be rushed in management, and that mortality will also kind of be part of that management, where as the trees grow up, just like anything else, certain things will survive, some won't, and then it will kind of grow up together in that way. So we do find, especially nowadays, where people don't have the means for management, and there is fewer and fewer contractors these days. We're fortunate to manage the Ganaraska Forest, and having contractors come and log our forest helps those around us, but not every location has that ability. So we plant as a form of management in the future. In terms of survivability, it's tied a little bit to that, but survivability is kind of separate from the density that we plant at. It's impacted a lot more by all the variabilities of weather, disease. This tree itself maybe just didn't have the vigor in it that it needed. And as you know, sometimes you look at a field of your vegetables or your trees, and you'll have a tree here that's this big and one right next to it that's really small. And it's those very site-specific locations that cause that. Survivability is something we are always focused on. We start from the day that we select the trees for that site, the quality we get from the nursery, and then, of course, what Mother Nature decides to give us. But we're fortunate that a lot of our funding programs do allow refill grants later on. So if survivability falls below 60%, we have an opportunity with the landowner to receive a grant to plant back a percentage of trees.
Okay, and I was going to say my last question, but this is a follow-up one. It's also about survivability. So, is it better to, if you're going to plant them in a row, to go in there with a, for want of a better word, a weed whacker or some kind of device to cut the grass and the weeds flat and then plant and let them come up? Or is it better to put the tree in amongst whatever natural weeds and vegetation are there, or where they have a chance of getting smothered by that? I just love this topic. That's why I have all these questions. So what's the better way to plant a tree to ensure better survivability?
So same idea that having your best seed or tree species for that site matters. Getting your best plant job matters. So yes, sometimes we need to mow down the surface so that when you put your shovel in, you're digging the dirt before you're chopping the weeds down first. The biggest competition to a tree is the rooting matter that's in there with the roots of the trees. So if you have well-established grasses, say it's an old pasture land or hayland, you're better actually to mow and spray and kill that rooting mass so that the little roots of your trees has a better chance of competing for all the water and nutrients. So pre-plant tending matters just as much as post, and all that is factored in. Sometimes, though, because a lot of people are against herbicides, they don't want to have on our property, which is understandable. We don't push it either. And sometimes having some vegetation, especially on the surface, actually protects the tree a little bit. So it's a bit of a balance game, just like any living thing, and seeing it through to the end. We weigh all that in our professional judgment.
And soil type, I think, would be.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've dominated the question period long enough. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Councillor Wu.
Yes, and through the chair, and thank you very much, Roy and Pam. And Pam, you came in and you didn't miss a beat. You just took a deep breath and you just went into your presentation. I think you've done this a few times. But if I could follow up on the survival rate, and I would imagine you've seen the report because I'm going to make reference to the report. And I did say in there on average, was it 71%? That would be, and you know, with Mother Nature, you know, it's like if I'm putting down sod, I've got to water that sod. The tree in itself, you're relying on Mother Nature. Sometimes we have, and I think this past summer we had a heat wave. But also, I'm looking at, let's say, rodents or animals, you know, deer that I think they go after the hardwood more so. So I guess it's, how do you plan for that? You know, you just plant the tree and you're hoping for the best.
Do you want to speak to that? Or? Sure. I'll give Roy a turn.
Yeah, so that goes into our planting prescription. So that's why generally we plant coniferous trees to start, right? So the idea is that they love the sun, they will tolerate wind, they will not be as browsed by wildlife as the hardwood trees. And the idea is for those trees to grow up and almost provide a cover crop for hardwood trees to come in under their canopy later. So sugar maple, red oak will have a hard time growing in open sun exposure. Mm-hmm. They'll do better under the canopy of the coniferous trees once they're more mature. And that's the idea. If a landowner is managing their plantation, they will do a thinning to open up canopy gaps to provide a vector for hardwood trees to enter the site and get established. Otherwise, it will happen naturally. Some trees will fail, some will be suppressed. Canopy gaps will open up and the hardwood trees will come in, especially if there's a nearby seed source. Otherwise, we can go back and look at underplanting the existing canopy where there's gaps.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, in one of your slides from 2022 to 2025, almost 500,000 trees, 490,000. And you exceeded the projected target over that course of time of 279,000. I think of the 5 different conservation authorities, Kawartha was just a little bit behind their target. But what do you attribute the success to?
Well, I will be selfish to attribute to the program itself. Okay. We all work together to accomplish that. But I think personally, professionally, there's always a desire for people to do more, both on their own property, but altruistically to the community. So I think it's there. It's just finding the people and matching them with the opportunity. And then we can see the success. But it also takes that constant communication and reminder, hey, it still exists, because there is so much going on in somebody's life, especially these days, that maybe environmental initiatives aren't first and foremost when others have to worry about housing and food and employment. But I think where it's there, it's definitely encouraged and celebrated, and people want to be part of it. Yeah, and I think especially early days of the pandemic, when it started, people were home and they were looking at their backyards or their fields going, oh, I should do something with this. And I think it also came right around at the right time, and then we're able to keep building the momentum moving forward.
Right. Well, certainly there's a community benefit behind all that too. Now, carbon sequestration, oh God, tongue-tied. I think I did that once before. Seashells by the seashore. I can do that better. Now, in one of the charts, and it speaks about, you know, white spruce, but and Norway spruce. And Norway spruce, I mean, I think white spruce is there was a comment there in the report about what says moving north, or speak to me about that.
Yeah. So you, Mr. Chair. So in forestry science, there's lots of climate projections that have been made, usually through the federal government as well as the provincial government, that will model climate change and how different species will react to it. So in the tree world, they do that. And so there are many species that grow here in southern Ontario that are projected to no longer be here in the next and this was 20 years ago, in the next 40 years. So you're really at our doorstep that they are not going to do well anymore. So white spruce is one of those. And we already are seeing it in our big trees. Roy's probably seen this as well, where you have plantations of white spruce and they're failing. We see it up in the Ganaraska forest where we have that. White spruce as seedlings, we would plant them like we always would because they are the native spruce. And they would just, in the early droughts, they would die out. Even heat stress, maybe we had enough rain or enough frequency of rain, but the temperature was really hot and no cloud cover. So we have slowly moved away from planting white spruce and shifting to Norway spruce, which are, they're not native, but we call them naturalized in the sense that I always say they get along with everybody else. They're not going to overtake. And when you look back to white spruce, we are on the southern limits of its range. It's a more northern species. And so you're just going to see that range slowly move north. I think cedar is scarily another one that's in there. Birch, yes, birch is another one. There's about 6 or 8 of kind of ones that we frequently are used to seeing and that we do plant that are on that range. I want to say tamarack might be as well. You're testing my memory here. And you'll add that on top of all the insect invasive issues that we have going on. It is kind of a scary future look of our tree canopy on a kind of species by species level. And so at tree planting, we have to consider that too. But that's why diversifying our sites are equally important. Going back to your point about how close things were planted, it was also very common to just plant a monoculture of one species. And so we try to do, upwards of 5, maybe 8 is kind of a typical if the budget allows and the site's suitable and all this other kind of factors weigh in. So.
Oh, that was a good response. Thank you. And you did speak about, excuse me, the website, durhamtrees.org. I went on there. That's an excellent site, and more people should go on there. I don't know if you track the number of hits that you get, but it is a very good site. And if I go to my area, my contact person happens to be you. Now, you did mention about trees for rural roads, and you've been involved in that long before this program. How's the uptick on that? And one thing I was thinking about, especially with the winter that we've had, and especially in the rural areas where we've had a lot of drifting and whiteouts, we don't put up snow fences anymore, very rarely. Would something like this, or could it be something that we could plant and be like a snow fence?
Sure. So, my time with the Conservation Authority started before my time with CLOCA. So I spent time at Credit Valley Conservation, and there we ran a program in collaboration with the Operations Department of Peel to provide a living snow fence program. So wherever you see the structural snow fences put up by the region along the municipal roads, the regional roads, north and west facing sides, we were offering to landowners free trees for anybody that wanted to replace structural snow fence with living snow fence that would provide the same break of wind, it would reduce snow load on the roads, it would increase visibility. So definitely something that's being done elsewhere, and interesting to consider. Definitely an opportunity potentially for Durham region as well.
And just to answer your question about trees for rural roads, so it started in 2012 with Clarington and Central Lake Ontario and Ganaraska. We still are averaging probably 300 trees a year that go out for free and people plant them on their own. So the uptake is still there. We're seeing a lot more people who are new to the area that didn't know about the program. But I think uptake is also kind of balanced by development as well. So it serves many needs with people wanting trees, and it's there to kind of, maybe their motivation is they want to block the view of something that's going to be in the future versus the road maintenance side of things. And just quickly a note on the website, when we talk about the collaboration, all of our marketing information or products and ads and website were all created in-house. So what's really nice about the collaborative venture is that we use all of our collective abilities, not just the tree planting side of things, and we don't have to outsource. We can do it all in-house.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pam and Roy, and that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the presentation and answering a boatload of questions. Thanks.
Thank you.
We now have Stacy Jibb, Manager, Agriculture and Rural Economic Development, and Stéphane Lamont, Program Specialist, Agriculture and Rural, Growing Agri-Food Durham Annual Report. Morning.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. My name is Stacy Jibb. I'm the Manager of Agriculture and Rural Economic Development. I'm joined today by Stéphane Lemon, who is our Agriculture Economic Development Specialist. Today, we'll be providing an update on the Growing Agri-Food Durham Plan implementation. More information can also be found in the report included in today's agenda package. So the Growing Agri-Food Durham Plan is a supporting plan of Ready, Set, Future, our economic development and tourism strategy and action plan. So this 5-year plan was endorsed by Council in 2022, and we do come to this committee on an annual basis to provide an update on its implementation. This action-focused document guides the work of the Agriculture Economic Development portfolio within the Agriculture and Rural Economic Development section of Economic Development and Tourism.
So our plan identifies 10 goal areas, and today we will highlight some of the key activities that have been accomplished or are underway in collaboration with partners under each goal area. Goal 1 is to retain and expand local food business. And actions to support this goal area include the annual Local Food Week campaign and social media posts to encourage shopping for locally grown produce and farm to fork during dining during Ontario Agriculture Week. The Economic Development and Tourism Division also executed a strong Gather at the Farm digital marketing campaign in collaboration with Durham Farm Fresh to promote agri-food and local farm visitation during the month of October. Goal 2 is to streamline the regulation and approval process for agri-food business. Throughout 2025, our team continued our work with Scugog, Uxbridge, and Brock to advance the agriculture-related and on-farm diversified uses, or as you might hear us refer to during this presentation, OFDUs, that project. And the primary outcome of this project is to make it easier for farms to diversify in North Durham by streamlining the regulations and approvals process. In December of last year, Scugog began implementing new ag-related and OFDU policies. Economic development staff support AR and OFDU applications through informal get-ready meetings to ensure they are prepared and can easily navigate the approvals process. There is a municipal workshop related to the North Durham AR and OFDU policies set to happen on April 15th as well.
So goal 3 really starts to expand a little bit on what Stéphane just touched on. So this is to enable and encourage agriculture-related and on-farm diversified uses, primarily related to agriculture. So really what drives this goal forward is the North Durham Ag-related and OFDU project that we touched on a little bit already. So this collaborative project has been underway for the last 2 years. So you've heard us sort of come here and talk about it before. What's exciting now is that we are in the implementation phase. So Stéphane mentioned Scugog started implementing their policies at the end of last year. Brock has recently endorsed their new policies and processes, so we'll see those really starting to take effect in the coming months. So what happened over 2025 to get us to this point was we undertook consultation. There was a number of public information sessions and opportunities for people to provide input on the policies and processes as they were being developed. And now that we're in implementation, our team is working very closely with township municipal staff in the planning divisions to support on those get ready meetings and to help applicants really lay out their business plans, get ready for the process, and to complete an application toolkit and checklist, which can be found as an attachment in today's agenda package. We also recently launched a new page on Invest Durham, so this really helps applicants with FAQs and more information about the process, the application toolkit, and the checklist. Goal 4 is really around advocating for infrastructure support. So a lot of our work in this area has been supporting the Hamilton Oshawa Port Authority and the developments that's happening there around the grain terminal. So in the past, we provided data to assist with grain and fertilizer merchandising for their team, and recently we've also been in communications with them about securing an operator for the grain terminal, so making connections and introductions with industry partners across the region who may be able to partner to support on that.
So goal 5 is to support businesses to increase agri-food processing capacity. So one thing that we have been exploring is the opportunity to attract an abattoir investment to the region. This is going to continue in 2026 as well. Student career tours were held in spring of 2025 and included a meat cutting culinary tour, a trade that is experiencing major labor shortages. There is a food processing, business retention, and expansion project currently being planned. This major project will allow us to better understand their business needs and opportunities to grow. Since between 76 and 90% of new jobs are created through already existing businesses, we do want to encourage and support these businesses to increase their agri-food processing capacity and therefore potentially more employment. Goal 6 is to identify opportunities and solutions for the workforce and labor shortages in the agri-food sector. So last spring, we did host the 3rd annual Precision Agriculture Field Day in partnership with Durham Farm Connections. We had close to 100 secondary school students visit a farm in Clarington to experience and learn about precision agriculture technologies firsthand and explore ag career opportunities. We exhibited at the Clarington Board of Trade High School Student and Employer Summit to showcase the diverse opportunities and work available in agriculture. And we chatted with Ontario Tech and their co-op experiential learning program about the future opportunities and how this could tie into labor shortages in the agri-food sector.
So goal 7 is really around providing resources for aging and young farmers. So one of the major projects we launched in 2025 was an agriculture leadership program. So it featured 4 modules really specific for building the future of farming in Durham region. We had a number of farm operators participate in that program. What's key to this school area is one of those modules focused specifically on succession planning. So it was around finding fairness in farm transition, and we made that open to anyone to participate in that and had massive uptakes. We'll be looking to build on that workshop going forward. We know that the age of farmers in Ontario is continuing to go up, so we want to try to encourage young people to get into the industry and make that a smoother path going forward. Goal 8 is around partnering with agriculture organizations in the region to deliver and expand agriculture literacy. So one of the projects we're going to be launching this year is agriculture economic fact sheets. So these will be developed for each municipality. They'll have stats such as number of farms, largest crop per acre, and details around how agriculture really contributes to the local economy and the economy of the region as a whole. So we'll be excited to be launching these for members of the public, for council, and for businesses to be able to communicate the importance and prominence of the agri-food industry in our communities. We're also very proud to continue our partnership with Durham Farm Connections. So they're really the keystone of delivering agriculture education in the region. And they'll have their major flagship event coming up April 8th. So just put a little save the date in your calendar if you can. And that's really around bringing primary school students to the Luther by Pond Arena where they learn about agriculture. There is also an open house component of that for the public to come and interact directly with farmers across the region. There's live animals, equipment demonstrations, so lots of really interactive stuff to experience.
Goal 9 is to enable a culture of innovation in agriculture and food. Investorm sponsored the Ontario Tech Brilliant Catalyst competition in 2025, focused on agri-tech and innovation. And we are also having ongoing discussions with the National Research Council of Canada Industrial Research Assistance Program, otherwise known as NRC IRAP, regarding a new cohort of the Agri-Food Gateway program, which provides a launch pad for companies developing agri-tech products. Goal 10 is to enhance urban agriculture. So we are pleased to continue to partner with Durham College and the Barrett Center for Innovation in Sustainable Urban Agriculture, including participation on their Urban Agriculture Advisory Committee. Our team has collaborated with the Barrett Center and Durham Farm Fresh to host an on-farm culinary demonstration with local food as part of the broader Gather at the Farm marketing campaign. Approximately 150 attendees learned about urban agriculture and cooking with local ingredients. Staff also supported the development of an urban agriculture policy paper with the Golden Horseshoe Food and Farming Alliance, and this is also in partnership with the Barrett Center.
So we will be delivering this annual report to a number of partners going forward. What we recognize is key to the success of the implementation of this plan is our partnerships with our agri-food partners like Durham Farm Connections, Durham Farm Fresh, the Durham Region Federation, of course DAC. So we will be delivering annual updates to all of those groups in the coming months, just to show that we're accountable for the work that we're doing in delivering this plan. Some of the key projects we'll be doing over the coming year include the ongoing implementation of the Ag-related and OFDU project in North Durham, and looking at opportunities to share that information and those best practices with other municipalities. We will be continuing to work with the Agriculture Economic Development Planning and Working Group. As part of that, we're going to be launching, or hopefully launching, a food processing business retention expansion project, and of course the agriculture fact sheets that I mentioned. That concludes our presentation today, so thank you very much for the opportunity, and we'd be happy to take any questions.
Terrific, thank you. Councillor Kerr?
Thank you, Chair, and through you, another great presentation this morning. When you talk, my first question is, you're encouraging the diversification of agricultural operations. What is the most typical area that they diversify into? Or are there things that you are encouraging farm operations to diversify into that are either needed and we don't have, well, like the abattoir, for instance, or that would be a profitable thing to help make that farm a more successful operation? What are the typical things that you encourage to diversify into?
Yeah, so through the chair, that is a great question. I would say from our experiences with Scugog so far, we've met with a number of applicants looking at OFDUs, and the range of things that they're looking at really varies. So quite a few wedding and event venues, on-farm accommodations, so really sort of going into that agritourism space. We're also working with an on-farm cheese processing facility. Some people looking at things that aren't necessarily agriculture related, but still sort of create new revenue streams and job opportunities to support the viability of those farms in a larger sense. So like a dog kennel is one. We've had a few of those. So I would say more broadly, agritourism is a big area that we're really looking at and sort of trying to sort of support those policies into. But it's a large gambit of ideas that have come forward.
So what I'm hearing potentially is, when I was at Durham College as a professor, the president asked me to set up general education. And one of the ways that I got the course offerings to expand was to go to, this is related, by the way, was to go to current professors and ask them if they had an area of passion in their life that they weren't teaching to in their day-to-day, but they could create a general education program. It sounds to me like on the farm, if they, one of the partners has an interest in dogs, for instance, you might encourage them to, expand into a dog kennel operation. Is that one of the things you look at, is to get them to look at areas of interest that could augment?
Yes, that's exactly it. And I think an extension of that is wanting to keep family farms viable. So if those families and family members can continue to stay on the farm and support the farm, but also have alternate revenue streams that are passions of theirs, that's certainly, I think, a success in my books in terms of the policy implementation.
Great. cider, wine, whatever else.
On-farm microbreweries is another one. We've had a few of those, one in Uxbridge and some interest in Scugog around that. So yes.
North of Port Perry, there's a cider operation. I think I drive by it all the time on the way to
Two
my
Blokes
cottage.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good.
Thank you. So when it comes down to labor, I mean, farm kids in the past went to Kempville maybe to get their training and then came back. It's a long way to go. Is there? I know Durham College has the field to fork kind of thing. Are there ways that, when as a professor too, advisory committees were essential to keeping programs current and bringing in real world experience? I noticed that you said something that you have an advisory committee at Durham College to that purpose.
Yeah, so through the chair, that's specific to the work happening at the Barrett Center of Innovations in Sustainable Urban Agriculture. So we do participate in that advisory committee and provide input around really urban agriculture policy and the work that they're doing at the Barrett Center specific to that that we mentioned in the presentation.
Okay, so is there an initiative to increase or develop the course offerings at community colleges that would encourage people to get into the agricultural business?
So through the chair, I do think that's a lot of the work that's happening at Durham College through their food and farming program. And I think you touched on that a little bit already, but they do seek input from the agriculture community. We worked with them in the past on the development of some of their programs. So they certainly are doing some of that work here in Durham. You make a great point about Kempville. I have another number of family members who went there myself. Some of them now go to Ridgetown. So there are some other options. But for Durham Region, I do think credit to Durham College because they're doing quite a bit of work in that area in their food and farming program already.
Okay, excellent. So that covers off the education component. And the last point or question I guess I had was a number of years ago, in Oshawa, we have the Spark Center, and it was the whole idea was to develop a productivity hub and innovative new businesses. And I suggested that maybe there could be something like an agricultural innovation hub or center, maybe centered in Uxbridge or Port Perry or something. Is the Durham College program fulfilling that, or do we still have a need for that kind of an innovation hub, or are the current agricultural operators educating themselves and developing their own pieces? I'm just looking for a way. I mean, what is it? 33 to 36% of the economy in Durham Region is agriculture. So obviously we need to fortify this and keep it going. So is there something that is being developed that would encourage the innovation of technologies that would further the profitability and sustainability of agricultural operations in Durham Region?
Yeah, so through the chair, I can touch on a few things that I'm aware of that might sort of fit into that. We did sponsor the Ontario Tech U Brilliant Catalyst program, so they specifically focused one of their competitions around innovation in agriculture. So that happened, I want to say August. And the NRC IRAP program that Stefan mentioned, they launched last year an Agri-Food Gateway program. That was a partnership with ourselves and Durham College, and that was really around encouraging companies and individuals to look at solutions to problems in agri-food with sort of like through the lens of agri-innovation. So I think there was 8 companies maybe that participated in that. Fortunately, that program didn't continue because when the federal election happened, the funding sort of stopped. But we are in ongoing communications with NRC IRAP to look at bringing that program back to Durham Region again with Durham College. So
Excellent. All the best with that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Wu.
Yeah, and through the chair, and thank you, Stacy and Stefan. You made reference to Goal 3, enable and encourage agriculture-related on-farm diversified use and agritourism uses. Now, in Goal 3, townships of Scugog and Brock recently endorsed amendments to the respective official plan, zoning bylaw, site plan control bylaw, fee. Now, where's Uxbridge fit into this one?
yes, so through the chair, I can answer that question. The Township of Uxbridge opted to look at the policies as part of their broader official plan review, as opposed to doing what Scugog and Brock have done to sort of make those amendments. So they are working on it. They have committed to incorporate the policies. They're just going to be doing that over the next year.
Okay. And what I am encouraged to see through Goal 2 is that you presented this workshop to the municipality of Clarington.
Yes, so through the chair, as part of Do It in Durham Week in November, I did do a presentation in collaboration with Invest Clarington. They had organized a workshop, so I was able to present some of the work that we've done, sort of share the toolkit and the checklist so people were aware of the work that's happening in North Durham.
Well, that's because besides the Durham Agricultural Advisory Committee, Clarington, I think, well, I shouldn't say I think, it has the only Agriculture Advisory Committee of the 8 municipalities. So thank you very much for coming down and statistics, I'm pretty sure you provided 1,200 farms in Durham region.
That's right.
And 264,000 acres of farmland. Now, having said this, and I think this goes to the succession planning, if we can keep the farms thriving and moving on rather than the next generation coming along and selling it. And that is one of that's goal 7.
That's right.
So can you speak more about that, what you're doing? I mean, we do have one farm in Clarington that did put land into the land trust,
Yep.
which basically, that's for 999 years. Are you talking about that? Rather than, sometimes you say, well, put it in the green belt, but I think we've learned that the green belt can be opened up.
That's right, yeah. So through the chair, on that point, I know the Ontario Farmland Trust has presented to DAC in the past, and I would say in general, my feeling is people in the agriculture community are looking at Ontario Farmland Trust and sort of considering it. I think what the Stevens did at Wilmot was a huge step forward, and people will definitely be looking at that and paying attention. In terms of succession planning, we did, as I mentioned, run a workshop earlier this year. We'll probably look at doing that again next year. It is challenging in agriculture with some of the accounting and business planning that needs to happen. So I think one of the intents of DAC as well is to bring in a speaker and accountant who can talk to some of that. So share that with the committee, and that knowledge and interest can emanate from there. So a few of the things we're looking at, but of course the OFDU policies are a big piece of that as well, like you mentioned. So encouraging the next generation, finding new revenue streams, ensuring those farms stay viable is all sort of a piece of the succession planning puzzle.
Great. And April 8th, bringing in the young kids the school kids, so that they can see
Yes.
what farming is all about. That doesn't just come from the grocery store.
That's exactly right, yes.
Okay, thank
Hopefully
you.
we'll see you there, yeah.
Thanks, Stacey, Stefan.
That's great. Thank you very much. Excellent. Well done. We'll now move on to correspondence. The first one is correspondence from the County of Prince Edward. A resolution passed at their council meeting held on January 29, 2026 in support of Bill 21, Protect Our Food Act. Recommendation received for information. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Wu, second. Councillor Kerr. Speakers, we have, yep, I see him. Councillor Neal.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. This is in support of protecting our farmland. So I was wondering, it says receive for information. I think it's important enough for the economy of Durham region, and to what the previous speakers were just discussing, how important farmland is. Could we have this also make a motion to send it to DAC, Durham Agriculture Advisory Committee? I mean, I can't make that motion, but if somebody could, I'd appreciate it.
Councillor Wu.
Seeing that I moved it for information, I would look at that as a friendly.
No, it's not an amendment. It's if you want to refer it to DAC, or do you want to just as an advisory to DAC?
Well, see that on the alternate for DAC, refer it to DAC.
Okay, for comments?
Yes, please.
Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor Kerr, then on the referral, all in favor? Opposed, that's carried. Okay. that's
Thanks,
been
Mr.
referred.
Chair. Thank you.
Okay, on the second correspondence from Doug Glass, Ajax residents, the recommendation is to refer, he's got 3 parts to it. It's to refer him to all 3 reports. the pieces. Moved by Councillor Kerr, seconded. Councillor Shaid. Any comments, questions, or otherwise? All in favor? It's carried. Report 2026 CG7, the update on Durham Trees Program, celebrating 5 years of success. Moved by Councillor Shaid, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Comments or questions? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Report 2026 CG8, Smart Mobility Durham 2025 Annual Report and 2026 Work Plan. Move the recommendation, Councillor Shaid. Seconder? Councillor Kerr. It's pretty rough when there's only a few of us here, right? Any comments or questions? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We now go to Economic Development Report 2026 EDT 1, Growing Agri-Food Durham Annual Report. Moved by Councillor Wu, seconded by Councillor Shaid. Any comments, questions, or otherwise? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Is there any other business? Seeing none, I need a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Kerr, seconded by Councillor Shaid. The next meeting is Tuesday, April the 7th. All in favor of adjournment? Carried. We are adjourned. Thank you.